Hello everybody. So today we're dealing with this question we had for homework here on page 177, question 3. Okay, so it's this question of this solid here. Okay, so you can look here, if I just zoom in, you can see the question says we're given a solid. Okay, so it says the figure below shows the elevation and plan of a solid. Okay, and what you're asked for is part A, draw the elevation and plan. That's fairly straightforward, because we're already shown here exactly what the plan and elevation will look like. So you're given all the dimensions. It's just a matter of copying that down onto your drawing first of all. The hard part comes in part B, and it says you have to draw an auxiliary elevation of the solid given the ground line x1, y1. Okay, so we've been going over this for a while now. Okay, so this is your x1, y1 line, and it's at an angle of 60 degrees. So what you have to do first of all is set up your drawing and then take an auxiliary in that direction. Okay, so you'll be looking out so that you're getting auxiliary at that angle in that direction. Okay, so first of all we're going to start with the actual plan and elevation and plan there. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom in there for a minute. Okay, so for anybody that doesn't have their textbook home with them for some reason, you can get all your dimensions there if you just stop the video, and you can draw out your elevation and plan. Okay, so I have this already set up here on my drawing. Okay, so all I did there so far was I came down 150 on the page to the XY line going across here. So I came down 150, and to this corner of my elevation I came in 100. Okay, from the left hand side in 100. So down 150, in 100 to this point here. Okay, so that is that point on our elevation here. So the rest of the elevation is fairly straightforward. The only part maybe might catch some people out is this radius here. So you're given the radius 30, so that means it's 30 down from here and 30 over from here to the center of that radius there. So that should be fairly straightforward anyway, but just in case. Okay, so we're already, if you draw your grid, you'll actually find that point there. So you can just draw in your circle at radius 30. So you can measure out your radius 30, which will be the distance of that anyway there, and we can just draw in our circle. Okay. Okay, the next part of that elevation then, you're going to actually need some information from your plan. Okay, so to get the measurement for this point over here, you'll have to look to your plan here to get these measurements here. Okay, and for this point here as well, you'll have to look to your plan. You see it's 55 over to there to that point, and it's 35, or it's another 40 from here over, so it's 95 altogether to that point, and then it's 40 high. Okay, so that should be fairly straightforward. 55 and 95. Okay, and we can draw that in. So I'll just draw up a construction line for that first of all. That will be that point there because it's sitting on the XY line, and we can just measure up 40 from that point there, and we can finish our elevation then. Okay, so that's our elevation done there, XY line in. Okay, so what we have to do next obviously is project our plan. So should be fairly straightforward now. Okay, so I'm going to project down our plan, bring down all our points first of all in construction. And you can leave a 20mm gap there. Okay. So you can see on your boot that it's overall it's 70mm wide. So I'm just doing these a little bit heavier than usual, so you can see them on the video. Okay, so obviously these are just construction lines, so keep them as such. So we have to come down to 40 then. Across, and then we can start filling in more detail. Okay, so that's our plan done there now, and our elevation. I might just lighten that line there a little bit, that construction line. So that's our elevation and plan done there now. Okay, so what we're concerned with now is our actual auxiliary. So we're going to set up first of all our x1, y1 line. Okay, so you see there we're given an angle of 60 degrees. The dimension out from this doesn't make that much difference. Okay, so just make sure that you're not going to be cutting through the corner of the object here, and keep out a little bit, but not too far that you run out of room on your page. Okay, so long as it clears the elevation in your object here, that's fine. So we're just going to leave that fairly long for now. We can mark in afterwards our x1, y1. So what we're going to do is we're after drawing that xy line there at 60 degrees. Okay, so what we need to do is actually look perpendicularly to that line there. Okay, so we're going to be looking in this direction here. So if we actually turn our 60-30, if we turn to a 30-degree side on our set square here, and we look in this direction, we'll be looking perpendicularly to our x1, y1 line. Okay, so it's as if we're standing at that direction where the pencil is. We're standing out here and we're looking in that direction there at our object. Okay, for our original elevation we were just looking in this direction here. Okay, so we're looking straight on, we're standing right in front of our object, and we're looking in this direction, and this is the view we got. Okay, but now we've walked around our object and we're looking at this angle here. So what we want to find out is what we're going to see looking in that angle. So one thing that is not going to change is the height of everything. Okay, so if this is sitting on our ground line here, our xy line here, this object, no heights are going to change. So that's the most important thing with these auxiliary elevations, is to remember that fact that the heights never change. So if we walk around this object, the heights of them points never change, and that's the key to getting this solution here. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark a few points that I want to get in my auxiliary elevation first. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at the front of this object here, at this surface here, and we're going to work our way back through it in our auxiliary elevation. So our first surface that we meet is this surface here. So this front surface here of our object, which if we look in our book here, it's actually this surface here. Okay, so we're going to find this surface here first of all. So if I go back to the drawing now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to label a couple of points first of all. Okay, so I'm going to label these points here in my elevation because these are the ones I want to find. So this point here, I'm going to label that 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so them 4 points, I want to find them 4 points first up here, and they're going to give me that front surface, so that front surface of the object. So I'm just going to worry about them first of all. I'm not going to worry about the rest of it. So I'm going to come down into my plan and I'm going to find them points in my plan. So that is that point there, 1, point 2, and 3 and 4 are represented by that point there. Okay, because 3 is straight above 4, so we're just seeing it as a point view there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my construction lines now at 30 degrees straight up into my auxiliary elevation. Okay, so information, as I said before, the most important thing here is that we take our heights from our original elevation. So the heights never change. So if I start with point 1 there, I can see point 1 is actually on the xy line there. So point 1 is never going to change the height of it, so it's going to stay on our new x1, y1 line here. So if I follow down into the plan, there's point 1 in my plan. I'll follow that back up into my elevation, and I can see there that it's just right there on the xy line, so I'm going to mark that as point 1. Same, okay, point 2 now is going to be slightly different. Okay, so point 2 is at this height in our elevation. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my height with my compass of point 2, follow that back down to where it is in the plan, follow it back up into along my line of sight into my auxiliary elevation, and I'm just going to strike it off along that line there, and that has given me point 2. So the height never changed there, so that gave me point 2. Now point 3 I can see is actually at the same height as point 2. Now what you can do the same thing for point 3 that we done for point 2 if you want. You can go down into our plan, follow back up, strike it off. Okay, but if you're looking closely at and you want to make a bit of speed and you're more efficient, you'll see that point 3 is actually already at the same height as point 2. So we don't actually have to take the height again. All we have to do is come back into our auxiliary elevation and come parallel to our x1, y1 line with a construction line across there, and where it meets the line that's looking from point 3 there, we'll get point 3. Either way is fine, but this way is more efficient, and this is the way you'll have to be working with more complicated objects. Okay, so there we have point 1, 2 and 3, and then we see point 4 is on the xy line here. So once again it's the same as point 1. It's already on the xy line, so we don't have to take any heights. Down into our plan, back up, and we see point 4 is right there. Okay, so all I have to do now is just join up them points there. Just get a pencil. Okay, so it's a good idea to just put in a surface once you get it like that. It'll help you visualize the object. So putting in a surface at a time. If we went ahead and done a rake of construction lines here, it can often get very confusing, and sometimes it's good to just concentrate on a couple of points, get them drawn in, and get the surface drawn, and then move on once you are happy with that. Okay, so another good idea too is often just to rub out some of them construction lines that are above that object, so we're not going to need them again, so it may just confuse you for the next time. So try and keep it just a clean area for working up here. So we have the front side of that surface there, so that is this surface here. So we want to move back and get this edge in along here. Okay, so which is this edge here. Okay, so this edge here, as you can see, is exactly the same height as all these points up here. So it's just that's a flat surface there. Okay, so we're looking at an edge view of that slope surface there and an edge view of that flat surface up here. So we already have some of the work done for this already. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring up these points first of all from here in construction. Okay, and we can start marking off them points. Okay, so if you look here, we can already see that this point is the same as point 1, so it's going to be on our xy line there. So if we can follow across, and that's going to be our point there. We can already see as well that point 2 that we've already have up here is going to be at the same height as this point here, because it's at the same height up here. So if you just follow that line up, and what we can do is just bring a construction line across from 2, and we can see that where that line meets the line coming across from point 2, that's going to be the height of that point there. Okay, and the same for point this point here, it's going to be at the same height as point 3. We already have that line going across, so if you follow it up here from the corner, okay, we can see that that point is going to be right there. Okay, so it's just a matter of joining up them points in our elevation. And that has just given us that surface there. Okay, so what we have is we have this surface, we have that whole front block, shall we say, or that front object done there. Okay, so we have that kind of front block section done. So all we have to do now is move back to the second section, so it's kind of the second block here, and we can see we have a curved surface on this, so we're going to have a little bit more work in that. Okay, so the same thing again. Okay, so I'm going to start and I'm going to label a few points first of all. So I'm going to start over here and I'm going to label these points 5, 6, 7. I'm going to label this point here as well. So just where the straight line meets the curve there, point 8 and point 9. Okay, so point 5 first of all. We're going to find all them points in our plan now. Okay, so we're working our way back through the object as I said before there. So point 5 in our plan is here. Point 6 is here. Point 7 is there. Now we may have to just find point 8 there. and 0.9 is right here. Okay, so what we're going to do is just going to bring up them points now, first of all, into our auxiliary elevation. I'm just going to rub out a little bit, a few of these lines that are above this construction, or above this object here from the previous construction, just so we won't cause confusion in our next one. Okay, so that can help sometimes. So first thing I'm going to do, bring up my construction lines now from each of these points, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. Okay, so I'm going to start at point 5 there. So if we can see here in our elevation, point 5 is actually on the XY line. So that's going to be sitting on our XY line no matter what orientation we view it from. So we come down into our plan, back up, and we get point 5 there. Okay, so it's sitting on our XY line. So our next point then, point 6, we can see is at a height there. Okay, so we're going to take our compass, we're going to measure off the height of that, follow down into our plan where point 6 is, follow back up along our viewing line there. Okay, and we're going to mark off point 6 there. Okay, so that's point 6. Point 7, as you can see, is at the same height as point 6. You can do it either way. Okay, you can take this, go down to our plan, go back up the same way as we did before and strike it off. Or an easier way is just to take a line parallel with the x1, y1 line from 6 across to where it meets our line coming from 7, and we get point 7. Either way we'll get the same point, but the second way is the best. Okay, so that's point 7, and now we're looking for point 8 and point 9. Okay, so you can see there, we'll take our height of point 8, follow down into our plan, follow back up along the line in our plan, and we're going to strike that off at point 8 there. Okay, and that's going to give us point 8. And we can see point 8 and 9 are at the same height, so I'm just going to take a parallel line, or a line parallel to my x1, y1 line across till it meets the line coming up from point 9, and that's going to give me point 9 because point 8 and point 9 are at the same height. Okay, so I'm just going to join up some of that. Now you can see there I haven't done anything with this curved surface yet, so I'm just going to leave that space blank up here first of all. I'm going to draw in what I can, so it'll give me a better idea, it'll better enable me to visualize the actual surface, and it'll better able to visualize what the curved surface will look like in my auxiliary. Okay, so it's a good idea to draw in what you can as you go, so it often helps you get to the solution easier. Okay, so you can see obviously between 7 and 8 there's going to be a curved surface there, and we're missing that at the moment. Okay, so we have a curved surface up here, but we're missing it here. So obviously in this view here we're looking at that curved surface, we're looking at that, that's just a quarter of a circle there, so we're looking at that, that's perpendicular to our line of sight, and obviously it's going to appear as a perfect circle perpendicular to our line of sight, so we can draw it with our compass. However, in this view up here, because we're viewing at 30 degrees to it here, we're not viewing it, it's not perpendicular to our line of sight. So if it's not perpendicular to our line of sight, it's going to appear elliptical. Okay, and anything elliptical we cannot draw with our compass, so we're going to have to find a few points on that to draw it. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually divide that circle up, or that quarter of a circle up quadrant with our 60-30 set square. Okay, so we're just going to divide that up first of all with our 60-30 set square. Okay, and that's going to give us 2 extra points there. So we already know where point 7 is and point 8 in our auxiliary over here. We're happy enough with them. So what we're going to try and find is these 2 points here. Okay, so I'm just going to call them 2 points A and B. Okay, A and B there. Okay, so we're going to treat these points exactly the same as we treated the other points, except they're just on a curved surface. Okay, so we're going to treat them exact same. So we're going to go down into our plan and we're going to find where they are in our plan first of all. So we're just going to bring our construction lines down from them 2 points straight down into our plan. Okay, and where they cross this edge here, there and there, we're going to find A and B in our plan. Okay, A and B. Now, we're going to treat them exactly the same again. So we're just going to, as before we did with every other point, we're just going to bring them back up into our auxiliary. Okay, so we're just going to bring them points back up into our auxiliary. So just be mindful not to get mixed up with lines here, because there's a good few now at this stage. Okay, so we're just going to bring them back up into our auxiliary. So we have A and B up here in our elevation, in our plan, so all we need to do is find them in our auxiliary elevation. And as before, its height is the key to this. Okay, so we're just going to take our height in our elevation here. The height is never going to change, so we're going to take that height, we're going to follow it back down into our plan to where point A is in plan. We're going to follow up along point A in our plan till we get to our auxiliary elevation, and we're going to strike that height off there in our auxiliary elevation. Okay, and we're going to mark that point A. We're going to do the very same thing for point B then. Okay, so we're going to mark it up. We're going to measure it in our elevation. We're going to follow down into our plan, and we're going to follow it back up into our auxiliary elevation. Okay, so we're going to get our 2 points there, A and B. Okay, so there are 2 points there. So all we have to do now, we have 7, 8, and we have A and B in between. So all we have to do is, if you have a flexicurve, you can join these around with your flexicurve. It'll make a nice job. If not, you can freehand these in as neatly as possible. Okay, so just, if you are freehanding these in, be as neat as you can. Okay, so just go over it lightly first. Make sure you're curving between the points. That's the key to it. Curve between the points. So once you're happy enough with it, you can start to actually just sketch it in. Okay, and do it. Don't go over it too many times, or it doesn't look right either. So just when you get it fairly good, leave it at that. Okay, so what we're left with then now is the actual we have the front surface of this done here. So all we have to do now is our back surface. Okay, so our back surface in along here, so which is this surface here. Now we have a lot of the work done as before. Okay, so what we can do is we can just bring up our points once again from that. Okay, so we're just going to bring up our points from our back surface. Okay, so from this edge along here, just the same as we did before. Okay, so okay, so I might just actually mark in them points as, so this is 0.5 here, they're all going to be at the same height, so maybe say 5.1, okay, 6.1, 7.1, 8.1 and 9. Okay, so just so we're clear, they're all going to be at the same height. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to match up 0.5 with 0.5.1 here. Okay, so they're going to be at the same height. So 0.5, if we come across, is going to be on the XY line there. Okay, so that's going to be 5.1 there. Okay, 0.6 is at the same height as 0.6.1 is at the same height as 0.6, and it's also at the same height as 0.7. Okay, so this, it kind of gets quick enough at this stage. So we'll follow the line up from 0.6.1, and where that comes across from 0.6, the height parallel with our x1, y1 line, that's going to be that point there, 6.1. Okay, the same for 0.7.1, it's at the same height as 7. Okay, so we're going to follow the line from 7.1 up into our auxiliary elevation, and we see it's there. Okay, 7.1. Okay, so we can also get 0.8 and 9 the same way. So 8 and 9 are at the same height, so we can just bring our height across from our 8 and 9 already, and we follow up the line from 8.1, and we get 8.1 there, and we follow the line up from 9.1 as well, and we get 9.1 there. Okay, so what we can do is we can just join all them points up. We can join all them points up then, and what we're going to have to do, the last thing we're going to have to do is we're just going to have to worry about our curved surface. Okay, so 6 to 6 point, okay, so that line should have been there. Okay, so shouldn't have drawn that line there. Okay, so it stopped at 7.1 there. Okay, so we can see here it's the same thing again, so we just treat this the same as before. It's going to be a straight line as far as 8 or 8.1 as we have it up here. Okay, so all we need to do now is bring up, so we're going to call A and B as well, so we'll have A, we'll just call that A dash, and we have B dash as well here. Okay, so it's the very same as before. We need to find the point of A and B in our elevation up here. Okay, so we're going to take the height. We already have the heights of A and B up here. Okay, so we can just bring them across. And where the lines cross A dash and A, we'll find that point there. Okay, so follow up A, and where it crosses A there, that's that point there, so that's A dash, and B is the same. Okay, we're going to come across and okay, so all we're left to do is actually sketch in that curve there. So again, being very careful just to curve between our points, and once we get them in, then that should be it. Okay, okay, and we can see, yeah, that line should go across then. Okay, so that's that line there. Okay, so that's our object drawn out there. Okay, so all we're left with is just whatever hidden detail is going to be in it. Okay, so for this part can be confusing sometimes, so we need to just be careful here and just watch what we're doing. Okay, so you need to just be able to visualize what the object is going to look like looking in this direction. What edges are you going to see and what you're not going to see. So the only edge there that we can't actually see is this back edge here. Okay, so that back edge there dropping down from 9.1 there, we're not going to see that. So when we're not going to see it, it's just going to be a dashed line the whole way up. So we still have to represent it even though we can't see it. Okay, so we can just tidy up this here. We'll mark in, now that we kind of know the width of it here, I'm just going to mark in my x1, y1 line. Okay, I'll just draw this in a little bit bigger here so we can see it. Okay, so you can see there, that's what our object should look like. Okay, so that's the whole solution to it there. So we have our elevation, our plan, we drew up like this, we used indexing. I used a couple of indexing here, and you don't always have to use as much. Sometimes it can become confusing as well as anything else, but it's just to let you know where the points are coming from. So sometimes if you see point 8.1 down here and see it up here, it can be more useful. Okay, so that was our homework. Okay, so I hope there was no problems with that, and we'll see you in class. Okay.